think for me it's just compartmentalizing things. I'm able to establish a character, love the character, build the character, and then I'm kind of able to just like cut it out and then go to the next one and develop. Like for me, I just compartmentalize characters. The only thing I haven't compartmentalized is 11. Like she's a part of me, so that's the one that isn't in my brain. She's in like my blood. Like I know her. So that's the only one. But I've been very lucky to be able to do that. I don't know. I think it's because I started young. I don't know. It's like I grew up doing that in that way, so it's like a learned behavior almost.
You're obviously very well aware that your life isn't normal.
Yeah.
How do you keep your feet on the ground? Like amongst all of
My
this...
parents pull my feet right back down to the ground. Yeah, my husband does. You know, it's like I live on a farm, so my animals ground me. Everyone reminds me of, you know, when the donkey is running around the field and I'm trying to catch it. That's what grounds me and keeps my feet on the ground.
That would really humble you.
Yes, very much.
Some of the franchises that you've been in have brought the fan bases. So I'm curious what your relationship to that is. Do you go online? Do you read the theories? Do you read the feedback? Or do you try to keep it out of sight, out of mind?
You know, you can't, there's so much information right now, so much in the world to consider and so little time to consider any of it. I try my best to not put too much of that into my orbit, because it can be really hurtful and really, even if it's really like positive stuff, you can kind of get an inflated sense of self. So it's best for me as I've grown older to kind of divorce myself from any of that. Just do really good work really hard, keep your nose down and grind and focus on your family. Well, you know, what's really nice is this elevating this original IP to this type of a blockbuster budget. You know, this is not a small film. And so it felt familiar in that it's like being on an Avengers film or being on a Jurassic film where it's like, you know, massive set pieces, huge budget, huge production value, but to be elevating something that's wildly original, I thought that was really kind of bold, because I think a lot of times studios don't want to take the risk on something that doesn't have the reach of a more, you know, prominent IP.
Chris, you're gonna go from the side.
Come on down, Chris, come on down!
You know, I try not to think about the forest. I'm just focused on the tree and in front of me, and so, you know, trying to choose roles that don't feel like they're repeating a bunch of beats, but still, you know, I like to imagine like a sliding doors aspect to a lot of the characters that live in this tone, which is this kind of big family-friendly adventure tone. And I've done a handful of films in that world where it's like, if circumstances were slightly different, I would become this guy. So I'm kind of breathing my own self into a lot of these roles, but you know, different circumstances would have created, and it, of course, would like, you know, nurture a different version of myself, but that way I can at least try to be authentic and be true with it.
I feel like, from an outsider, you kind of have that work-life balance down pat. Does it feel like that to you?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. You have to be careful that you don't overdo it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meaning you don't overwork. So you have to be careful, because you want to spend time with your family and you want to work. So, yeah. Sometimes I get it right.
You got it right. You know, from stage to screen to film to books, it's all covered at this point. You've kind of dabbled your fingers into everything you possibly can. So how do you know when it's the right time for the right thing?
You don't. You have to go with your instinct, I suppose. You have to just think about what stories do you want to tell next, and in what genre do you want to tell them?
I mean, look, we're inspired by the sci-fi fantasy genre because, look, we live in a complicated world, but we also like to deal with big ideas when we tell stories. And I think working in sci-fi and fantasy lets us wrestle with the biggest issues that we feel like we're facing and that we see other people facing without sort of hitting those sore spots that we all get stuck in about the issues in real life. So it becomes like a nice venue to explore our human experience that's a little one step removed from where it gets sensitive. And I think it allows our brains to work differently, our emotions to flow differently, and it becomes a powerful form of communication.